Welcome everybody to another episode of the Cover 2 Show presented by Tigervision. I'm with my man, Grayson Man.
I like that.
As always, I'm Patrick Neal. Another great week leading up to the Super Bowl. We've got a bit of content for you today. We've got a Super Bowl preview. We have each ranked all the coaching hires now that they've all been filled, unless somebody out of the blue gets fired or something.
That would be wild. But
so we both made our individual lists. Kind of averaged them out. Made our official Cover 2 list, I think, of what we think so far. So we'll be going through that. We got a little bit of news at the end. Potentially with Auburn. With that situation's getting a little bit sticky, but great show for you today. So I guess go ahead and start. Super Bowl preview. It's less than a week away. We are both so excited.
It is going to be a unbelievably fun game. This is a Super Bowl, and I don't know if we touched base on this specific point. This is a Super Bowl where, regardless of whether you have a stake in this or not, you're gonna enjoy it. It's not like, and I know this is gonna come off as maybe pretentious, but it's not the Patriots winning the Super Bowl again.
No,
it's
unfortunately,
not Patrick Mahomes and that whole family dynamic in the Super Bowl. No Tom Brady. It is new blood in the game, likable guys, likable players. What are some things that you're looking for in this game? I think for me, it's how will the Cincinnati Bengals start off? Will they have a slow start like they did in Kansas City? Will Matthew Stafford be able to – this is a legacy game for him more than Joe Burrow, but that Jamar Chase versus Jalen Ramsey matchup, Cooper Kupp, Sean McVay versus Zach Taylor. There's so many angles you can take in this game.
There's a lot of angles. But, Joe Burrow's yet to lose a playoff game, so it is, I think – potentially just as much a legacy game for him, keeping that undefeated in the playoffs streak alive. But like you said, there's so many different ways you can attack this game from a viewer standpoint. The biggest, I think, talking point that most people are going to be talking about is that Bengals offensive line against Aaron Donald and Von Miller and Leonard Floyd and so many other great rushers and edges and defensive linemen. Look, two games ago, the Bengals gave up 9 sacks to the Titans, who have a phenomenal defensive line. But, Jarrell Casey is not Aaron Donald.
Definitely not.
Harold Landry is not Von Miller. Von Miller has really turned it up in these playoffs, and that right side, especially of the Bengals offensive line, is an issue. Yes. So how are the Bengals going to attack that?
I think
remedy that.
Cincinnati, I think 2 things that they can do. They're going to have to utilize Jamar Chase in the quick game, get the ball out to him in space. I think they really should attack the screen game early with Joe Mixon. Try to get those linemen to believe like they're winning those battles in that trenches area. Get Joe Mixon, get your playmakers in space. Keep Joe Burrow alive at this. Not like it's life or death for him, but getting the ball out quick is going to be crucial here because with Aaron Donald, like you said, Eric Gaines, you have Leonard Floyd, you have Von Miller, who is like resurgent. It is new life for him. He's on pretty much fresh legs because he didn't really play in 2020. It's very exciting to see how Zach Taylor will attack this, but I think the quick game is most important. Use the speed that you have with Mixon, Higgins, and Jamar Chase.
Yeah, so you mentioned Jamar Chase. Now, it'll be interesting to see what the Rams do regarding Jamar Chase. Are they going to, put Jalen Ramsey on him and basically try and shut him down? Jalen Ramsey is the cornerback out of any of them that can potentially do that. Or will they try and bracket him with, a cornerback and a safety and put Ramsey on someone like Higgins? That'll be interesting to see. I think it's going to be up to Burrow and whether or not he's going to be able to get the ball to whoever is open. He's been very good throughout the season of, getting the likes of Uzama, who, if you saw that video, tore off his knee brace.
That was cool.
In front of a bunch of Cincinnati fans. So he's ready to play. Whether Tyler Boyd gets involved in the game in the slot, or if T. Higgins goes off for a big game because Jamar Chase is getting locked down potentially by Ramsey. So
which he did against Kansas City.
Yeah. It was very important that like Higgins had a big game.
Higgins, Tyler Boyd. The one thing that I think for Joe Burrow is that this isn't going to faze him. I mean, he's certainly had this kind of situation before where he's going to have pressure in his face the entire night. There's just very few quarterbacks in the NFL where you can say they could get sacked 9 times, get back up and not change a shade. That is unbelievably impressive from a second-year quarterback who last year tore his ACL in probably arguably the same circumstances in terms of offensive line. It's very impressive what he's done, and so you can rely on that confidence that the offensive lineman saying, hey, maybe we're not having the best game, but our quarterback is completely fine. He's not blaming anybody. He is calm, his demeanor. That confidence could really translate to have the offensive line potentially have their best game, which they'll need to win the Super Bowl.
Yeah, I mean, we've talked about this so many times, but Joe Burrow is truly a culture changer. There aren't many people like that in the NFL that go in. The Bengals have made the quickest turnaround from worst record to Super Bowl appearance in NFL history. And they have proved that teams that are rebuilding can be on the right track within 1 to 2 years. Like, Burrow hasn't even played a full 2 seasons in the NFL because of his knee injury last year. Like, that's absurd to think about. And it's a testament to Burrow. It's a testament to, like, even Zach Taylor, who I'm not personally the biggest fan of, but he has let Joe Burrow take control. He has let Burrow, lead meetings, lead offensive meetings, make his own decisions, really just lead the offense and lead this team. And I think he's going to have to do that this game. I don't think I think if you lose this game, you can't be happy with yourself if after the game you're saying, we didn't get Joe Burrow the ball enough.
Yeah.
Taylor throughout the season has had some issues with running on 1st and 10, with Joe Mixon, and like last week, 2 weeks ago, it didn't work out very well. So I think Taylor has to, kind of get his hands off a little bit, which he's done successfully. I think throughout this season, and just let Joe Burrow be Joe Burrow. You
have to imagine too that the way that Cincinnati's had this run, you can imagine that the pressure that the Super Bowl, there's going to be pressure and there's going to be stakes. It's the highest stakes imaginable for a football player. But for Cincinnati, you have to imagine that they're looking on the other side. The Rams have sold their soul for this game, for this opportunity. You have to imagine that they're feeling on that sideline that they need the Super Bowl more than Cincinnati does. Not saying that the Cincinnati loses and it won't really affect them, but just that going in and that calm demeanor, Joe Burrow, they weren't supposed to be here type narrative. They're going to be doubted. They're going to be the underdogs going into this game. There's a lot you can say, hey, they can just go and play more free than LA, who's going to go into this saying, hey, it's Super Bowl or bust for us. We've made moves for Stafford, Ramsey, Von Miller, Odell Beckham,
all of them,
giving up a bunch of draft capital. For McVay, it would be very much for his own legacy to say, hey, I was able to get a Super Bowl out of this roster instead of being 0 for 2 with the current constructed base.
Yeah, this is a big deal for McVay. A few years ago, that Super Bowl that they lost was they all beat themselves up for it, and it has shown McVay has had issues in the past, with changing his game plan, making halftime adjustments. So that's going to be a big deal. Playing a team that is very, very good at that, especially against the Chiefs a few weeks ago when Anarumo, went from a few more defenders in the box to dropping 8 in coverage. So will McVay be able to make those adjustments? He's also had issues with game management, with timeouts and challenges. So I think that's a big deal as well. And it may be a little underrated, but this game is in SoFi. But will Rams fans show up?
I've seen the ticket prices. I know that this is not really a talking point, and I guess with the Super Bowl, everything goes. The tickets are unbelievably expensive.
Oh, yeah.
You've seen. We checked the prices out today alone. Just for 2 people, it's like $10,000 just to sit in
It's absolutely absurd.
But I guess because it's in LA, this is what the NFL wants, to have it in their most expensive stadium. It feels very new for them too. It feels like a change. They've gone out of this COVID thing on the right side. They have it is a very nice stadium. I'll give them that. They're definitely going to get back their investment. But in terms of Rams versus Bengals, I think that just having an LA team in the Super Bowl that might draw celebrities and just that aspect.
And they're gonna have a bit more money.
I would not be surprised if Cincinnati fans just go all in for this.
I'm kind of getting that same feeling too. You got a lot of people hopping on the Bengals bandwagon. So maybe even if some celebrities show up, maybe like LeBron's from Ohio, who's he gonna support?
He's playing for an LA team, so it makes sense for him to root for the Rams. Snoop Dogg, I think actually, isn't he in the halftime show?
Snoop Dogg's in the halftime show.
He'll
It should
be
be a
there.
great halftime show, by the way.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, Snoop Dogg, Eminem,
Halftime analysis.
Dr. Dre,
Next week.
Mary J. Blige.
I'm excited.
And Kendrick, too. So, loaded, absolutely loaded halftime show. Yeah, I'm sure we'll have a great analysis for you on that next week. I think just kind of closing thoughts about this Super Bowl preview.
Let's get our picks.
Yeah, I agree with that. I was going to say quickly, though, I was going to ask you, is this the Bengals' best opportunity to get to a Super Bowl?
I'm going to say this is not. I'm
Okay.
going to say that this is a roster that can go into the offseason and say, we still have Joe Burrow on a rookie contract, Jamar Chase on a rookie contract. They have their core offensive players. I don't know the situation of Joe Mixon's contract. They still have T. Higgins. And I think that they have established a culture and a run where they can get people to come back and buy in, boost up the offensive line a little bit. Ben Roethlisberger's retired from the Steelers. I know that didn't make a difference this year, but they're going to be looking at a new quarterback, and that could take a year or two to kind of figure that out. And with Cleveland, they're a mess right now. Baltimore, I think Lamar Jackson and Joe Burrow, I might take Joe Burrow at this point. I know Lamar Jackson's unbelievably talented, but the way that this season has progressed and gone out, I really like Cincinnati moving forward.
Look, Cincinnati should be good moving forward, and they have a ton of cap space this summer. But Lamar and look, the Ravens had an absolutely atrocious offseason in terms of injuries. Like they lost pretty much everybody that was important to their success. They lost Marcus Peters, they lost J.K. Dobbins, Gus Edwards. A team that runs so much, relies so much on the run. They lost their top two running backs. So that's going to be, or they're going to be returning. Lamar's going to be returning healthy. I still think Lamar is an absolutely terrific quarterback.
Sure.
Like he won an MVP in his second season for a reason.
That's the one team that would be a cause for concern. But I think the Bengals have proven they can go win important games on the road. So even if they are a 6 seed or a 5 seed, they could definitely take on the best of the best and be able to make another run.
I just think this season might be one of their best opportunities to win a Super Bowl, personally. But yeah, let's get picks. What do you got?
I'm going to take Cincinnati. I'm going to take them 28-27. I think that Evan McPherson is going to win the Super Bowl for the Bengals. I'm going to ride Joe Burrow. I'm going to say that Stafford makes a couple boneheaded mistakes, as he's prone to do from time to time, and that this Rams team has gone through so many changes that I think this team's going to get tight. Yep. And I just believe that Joe Burrow can rise above any challenge, especially this year. This feels like a team of destiny.
I kind of got to take the Bengals as well. Like
you're obligated. You're a fan.
I got to take them as a fan. But I think if they're going to win this game, it's going to be kind of like you said, forcing turnovers from Stafford, which he can be prone to do. They got to have maybe 1 to 2, maybe even 3 interceptions, forced fumbles, something like that, to really change the tide of this game. And it's going to be a close game, I think, if the Bengals win.
I will say, if this is a blowout in the Rams' favor, I don't see Cincinnati coming back.
Yeah, I think the Rams might be able to win a shootout, but the Bengals have won shootouts before.
Yes.
So I'll take the Bengals, maybe 23-21.
Okay.
But onwards towards all the coaching positions have been filled. So we decided we were going to, at least for right now, not everybody's staff's filled out. Free agency hasn't happened yet. The draft hasn't happened yet. But we have both ranked from 1 to 9 our coaches, or who we think the best coaching hires have been. Sorry, I can't really speak.
Hey, you were doing your job for Clemson tonight.
But
so
beforehand,
okay.
I will say, if I sound a little weird, was screaming at the Clemson UNC game. Weren't able to pull it out. It was close.
Close.
Played Duke on Thursday, so hopefully we're able to get a win there. But we averaged out our 2 lists, put them together. So you want to start from the top? You want to start from the bottom?
Let's start at the top.
Let's be a little more positive.
It'll get more contentious as we get to the bottom.
Okay, sounds good. So we both put Brian Dable as our number 1 position.
Yeah, and we touched on this in a previous episode. We think that this is a great. Daboll's probably the most he was the most exciting candidate, and he was one of the better candidates that came out of this coaching stint. And he's made an excellent hire with Joe Sheen as the GM. They've worked in Buffalo together. They're bringing in Martindale for the Ravens defensive coordinator. That was one where I think a lot of people are like, wasn't he terrible this year? But they've lost, like you said, a lot of players. Winning experience. He was with the Patriots, gotta say. Thank you for that. And
he's with Bama as well.
The best thing
ring there too
is his development with Josh Allen.
Yes.
And can he translate another tall, athletic quarterback that kind of, not that Josh Allen and Daniel Jones are exactly but they have a similar playing style where they both can make plays with their legs and they're able to extend plays out of the pocket. I'm really excited for New York on this.
Yeah, look in a vacuum. I think having the Bills front office, head coaching staff, a Chiefs offensive coordinator with now Mike Kafka, who is the new OC, former Chiefs QB coach and passing game coordinator, and the Ravens defense would be a great team. So, like, I've really liked what they have done with their staff, what the kind of staff they have put together. I think the Giants potentially have a very, very bright future. Martindale, he is, I think, probably going to change this defensive kind of scheme a lot. The Giants with Patrick Graham played a little bit more zone, a little more cover 1, cover 3, but Wink Martindale loves to blitz. So you've got Azeez Ojulari, who had a somewhat productive season with 8 sacks and a forced fumble. You've got the likes of Bradbury, Adoree Jackson, who had some man experience at Tennessee, but I think look for them to probably target edge rushers, offensive linemen, and cornerbacks as well, who are going to excel at man coverage.
And this Giants defense has playmakers. They have a lot of potential to be. This was a team that, and Matt, if you're watching, my roommate who's a Giants fan, watched a lot of heartbreakers with him.
Yep.
With a team that has so much potential on that roster. But I think with Joe Judge, it was another Belichick disciple that just tried to be too much like Bill and implement that kind of culture. And sometimes that doesn't work everywhere. Like this was. With New England, it's lightning in a bottle, and you can't recreate that with every single new team that you go to. So to see this new direction, and personally as a Patriots fan, seeing Dable out of the division brings me so much joy. So I hope that there's a little regression there with Allen, just to kind of drive the point home how great Dable is.
Yeah. I think he's going to be a great hire. He looks to be a really, really good culture guy, and has a massive truck. So
that makes him 100% cooler in the eyes of Patrick Neal and Grayson Mann.
But between us two, our second highest ranked coach, you had him third, I had him fourth, I believe. Yes, Kevin O'Connell, who is now with the Minnesota Vikings. He is coming from the Rams. Doesn't have too much experience. He's 36 years old, coming from the Rams offensive coordinator position. Or he's at least expected to join. He hasn't officially joined.
I think it's one of the things where they're just waiting for the Super Bowl to be over. But this is another hire that is a very exciting one. This is a team in Minnesota with, like the Giants. They have more direction than New York has in past years, but they have potential. Kirk Cousins had arguably his best year last year, and it went completely under the radar because he is indeed Kirk Cousins, and they're the Minnesota Vikings. They've got Dalvin Cook, who was unbelievable. They got Justin Jefferson. Who was unbelievable. They got an unbelievable backup running back in Alexander Madison. They have Adam Thielen. They have playmakers. This is a team that, under the right direction, could really flourish in a new system. Yeah,
and you mentioned Cousins. O'Connell actually worked with him when he was back in Washington in 2017, when the year before he got that absolutely massive contract with Minnesota. So he said he's very excited to work with Kirk Cousins, and Minnesota is really leaning into youth. They could have potentially hired Jim Harbaugh. Word got out that they were very close to hiring him. Of course, he's staying at Michigan. But they hire him. They hire Kwesi Adofo-Mensah, if I'm pronouncing that right. He's a 40-year-old GM with no GM experience.
A lot of youth on this staff.
He's a former Wall Street analyst. So they're really leaning into that youth. It'll be interesting to see what they do with their defensive coordinator position and what they do with that kind of aging defense, in all honesty. Like, they have playmakers on defense, Danielle Hunter, Everson Griffin, Dalvin Tomlinson, Patrick Peterson, Harrison Smith. They have the pieces to be, a fringe, playoff team, a solid playoff team even.
This is a Division II where we don't know what the heck's going to happen with Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah, precisely.
The Lions, the Bears with Eberflus. There is a lot of moving parts, so the Vikings could really capitalize on a young quarterback in Chicago, a disgruntled quarterback in Green Bay, and then the Lions.
maybe even a young quarterback in Green Bay. We don't know what's happening with Rodgers. But they're really leaning into youth. Like I said, the Vikings have the ability to be a playoff team, but I don't know. So many years have gone by where they've been a fringe playoff team. I don't know if Minnesota is really excited by that anymore.
Yeah, they don't want to be just average or mediocre. They want to be able to compete for Super Bowls. They have the roster to do it. We want to start disagreeing.
Yeah. So we had a little bit of disagreement a little bit after this. So we'll go with the 3 through 5 kind of had pretty much the same average, but we disagreed quite a bit on it. So Matt Eberflus, I had him at 2. Grayson, you had him at, I believe, 7.
7, that's correct.
We are a little bit different on this. I guess I'll go ahead and say why I'm excited about him. Originally, I wasn't very excited about him because he was a defensive coach. So many NFL teams are moving towards that young offensive play caller for head coaching positions. But Eberflus, he turned a Colts defense with not very many star players into a great defense, especially last year where a lot of teams were struggling defensively. He turned Darius Leonard into a great player, an All-Pro and Pro Bowler. And Fields himself has said he appreciates the defensive perspective of Eberflus. He also hired Luke Getsy, former Greenback quarterback coach, who Aaron Rodgers has supposedly raved about. According to James Jones, the former Packers wide receiver, he was on a podcast, I believe on The Ringer, and said Rodgers was reportedly begging that the Packers didn't let him go. So I think that's very interesting, stealing him from a division rival. And hopefully he's able to work with Fields, get them to be a team that Matt Eberflus said he wants a fast, high-tempo team based on quickness, based on toughness, and high effort. So he's saying all the right things at least.
Yeah, this is one for me, and the way I looked at it, and I told you that my 3 through 7, it was like my 5 through 7, and we'll get to that in a sec. I like it, but it's not one that's blowing me off the page like a couple of them, and I'll talk about one of them in a second.
Yep.
And the more you look at it, the more you kind of see why Chicago did this. This is just one for me that came out of left field when there was a bunch of really just quality candidates around. I know that taking him from a division rival is very important. This is one for me. This isn't really an argument per se. I just got to see it to believe it. Chicago, with the way they've managed things and the way they've been able to operate in the past, leaves a lot to be desired for me personally.
Yeah, I would add on that this could very easily be another Matt Nagy situation, defensive coach that gets the team to between 6 and 9 wins every single season, 6 and 10 wins or so. But
love to be proven wrong though.
With a lot of these coaches, it's a kind of wait and see. Not a lot of coaches, or a lot of these coaches that are being hired don't have too much playing or coaching experience. I guess we kind of have to wait and see. But the next coach we have, we actually, similar to Matt Eberflus, I had Doug Peterson in the 7th spot. You had him at the 2 spot.
That's right.
So go ahead on your excitement for Doug Peterson.
This is the most significant, besides Brian Dable, this is the most significant hire for the Jaguars in a long time.
Okay.
This is their best hire since Coughlin.
Let's hear it.
I'm going to tell you, you know a guy named Trevor Lawrence, right?
I do know a guy named Trevor Lawrence.
Generational talent, Peyton Manning comparisons. Did you see that Super Bowl with Nick Foles at quarterback?
Yes, and wide receiver
It pains
as well.
me to talk about it in this way because this is the man that took down Tom Brady, and so it irks me. But I think what Peterson can bring to Jacksonville is not only stability, because God knows they need it, is that getting the right guy for Trevor Lawrence was the most important thing. Getting potentially an Eberflus or a Dennis Allen or even a Lovie Smith to Jacksonville would have been a disaster. They needed to get an offensive guy that's able to work with talent like Trevor Lawrence, bring stability, bring championship experience. He's won a Super Bowl. He's been to the playoffs multiple times. I really like what he did with the Eagles roster. I think the way that it was handled on the way out from Philadelphia was a mess. Carson Wentz, we've seen, can at times be very prone to just God knows what in the world he's thinking. So I think with what he had and what he's going to be able to do with the talent they have, this is a team that beat Buffalo. This is a team that beat a competitive Miami team that ended up winning 8 of 9. I think that was that one loss was the Jacksonville Jaguars. I could be wrong. I'm totally wrong on that. But this is a team that has a lot of talent and a lot of potential, and I really like this for Trevor Lawrence.
Okay.
I can't talk either. It is the potential to have Trevor Lawrence be the best Trevor Lawrence can be, and that is very exciting.
Yeah, so I think this is a fine hire. I think it's even a good hire. It's just not very inspiring, I don't think.
Okay.
I will say Carson Wentz, when he had Doug Peterson, was playing at a near MVP level before he got injured that season. So maybe he's able to do the same thing with Trevor Lawrence. They even have kind of some similar qualities. But when they were so close to hiring somebody, a hot commodity even like Byron Leftwich from the Buccaneers, I think he's a little bit more inspiring. He's a younger coach. The only thing is Leftwich wanted the general manager for the Jaguars to leave, Trent Baalke, and he wanted him to be replaced by a younger GM, which is why he didn't get hired. But they really, I think, could have gone with youth in this situation, but decided to just kind of go with the safer pick in Peterson. Now, whether that could lead to tremendous success. I mean, he's won a Super Bowl, but I just don't know if in an age where the league is leaning more towards youth, I don't know if Peterson is necessarily the right guy you want to go with.
Yeah, and I think that you bring a great, the what about Brian Leftwich, and we don't, with hindsight, we could see Brian Leftwich take over Tampa Bay and turn that Tampa Bay team into a consistent winner without Tom Brady. We don't know, but I think right with what they have in that current situation, Peterson was the best it kind of ruins my argument when I say this is the best they could do, when it makes him sound like a second option. But I think for Trevor Lawrence, and that was their selling point, is Trevor Lawrence. And if he can play up to his potential, there's no telling what this Jaguars team can be.
Yep. All right. So on to our fifth spot. Also had a similar average to Peterson and Eberflus, but we both had him a little bit farther down. Mike McDaniel, you had him at the 4, I had him at the 5, so pretty similar.
Yeah.
I think if he's the former San Francisco offensive coordinator. He's been with the team since 2017, but was promoted in 2021 to the offensive coordinator job. He did not call plays for San Francisco, but he has had great play design. So you wonder if he gets creative with someone like Waddle, similar to the way he did with Debo.
Yeah, I think that, and just to quickly, because we pretty much agree on where he stands, I like this for Tua, and I think they really needed a guy that can believe in Tua, because I think he's pretty much gotten he hasn't really gotten a fair shake yet, because he had Brian Flores, and it's reported that he really didn't believe in him. He wanted Deshaun Watson. There was a lot of turmoil with ownership. Fitzpatrick kept getting shuffled in and out for him. The thing that, for me, is just find a guy that believes in Tua and see if you can make it work. They got a lot of playmakers. They have a lot of potential to compete in the AFC East. This is a team that beat Belichick twice. And granted, that was with Flores, but this is a team with a lot of their stock is trending up, as I'll say.
Yeah, I mean, he's been very successful with a somewhat mediocre to average quarterback play. So if he can get the same out of Tua, they might have something here, and they might be a strong playoff team. But I think there's questions around, is he really an upgrade over Brian Flores? Brian Flores is a very, very strong coach, and you wonder why he didn't. I guess we'll talk about it a little bit more later, but you wonder why he didn't get a job. On to our sixth pick. So we varied on this a lot too. Dennis Allen, I had him at my third best hire. You had him at 8. So I'm gonna say Dennis Allen. I love he was promoted internally from the New Orleans defensive coordinator position, but I like him for a lot of the similar reasons you like Peterson.
Okay.
I think he's been there since 2015. They have had a top 8 defense since 2017, every single year, and I think he's just going to bring stability. A team that has a lot of issues with cap space, a lot of issues about. With the likes of Alvin Kamara, the news coming out about him potentially being in trouble. Are they going to trade Michael Thomas? What are they going to do at the quarterback position? It's a lot going on in New Orleans, and I think Dennis Allen is just going to be able to provide stability and do a lot of what they've been able to do for years.
Yeah, and I know Dennis Allen getting a second chance. I love that. I know that stint in Oakland was terrible. Part of why I ranked him so low is who was available. And they had their finalists. They interviewed Bieniemy from the Chiefs, which would have been fantastic in terms for Winston. Because under Winston, with Sean Payton's leadership and coaching, he had one of his best seasons. They were 5-2 before he went down. They probably were going to be a playoff team if things had played out in the way that they'd hoped. And you bring up stability, and maybe this is different because of the whole lawsuit thing that's going on. Maybe they would have hired Flores. I would have liked that much more. Guy that's had head coaching experience like Dennis Allen, has success, unlike Allen with Oakland, but maybe that Allen inherits a better roster. They have stability. I don't hate the hire. It's just that I think they could have done better in a certain area.
Okay. Yeah, I just think he's going to be a good stabilizer for them. And they should.
That's what the Saints need.
They should keep being able to be, fringe playoff team. I think.
Yeah.
With this point, and he can potentially lead them even higher. So the 7th spot, we got Josh McDaniels. You have him at the 5 spot. I have him at the 8 spot.
Okay.
So you're a little bit higher on him. I don't know.
Yeah,
As a Patriots fan.
this may be a little. I don't want to. This was the wrong day to wear both Patriots.
Yeah, maybe.
This is. I promise this isn't a bunch of bias, but I like it the way I like the Kevin O'Connell hire.
Okay.
Is the potential that they have on that offense. I really want to see what he can do with Derek Carr. I think that in terms of like Gruden's offense, you can get Hunter Renfrow involved. You can get players like Zay Jones, Darren Waller, Josh Jacobs. Maybe he can have. I think what Josh McDaniels did so well with the Patriots is they're able to utilize the screen game, the run game, and the play action so well. They're able to get their guys. Maybe they didn't have the best receivers, but they were able to give them the plays that they needed, fit with the right scheme. I think Derek Carr could thrive under this kind of coach in this kind of system. And I think that you're going to bring up the stuff about Rich Bisaccia.
Yep.
I wish he had kept the head coaching job. And maybe it's bitterness because I think he deserved it. Mm-hmm. But maybe he'll get a shot eventually.
That's why I'm so low on this. Like, why not just keep Bisaccia?
Yeah.
The entire team believed in him.
Yeah.
So I think that's kind of a miss on the Raiders' part. But Josh McDaniels, he did hire Giants DC Patrick Graham as their new DC. He's had success with the Giants defense. He loves himself some white slot receivers, and Hunter Renfrow is potentially the best of all of them. I guess Cooper Kupp.
Hunter
Renfrow, I think, kind of fits that mold of white slot receiver a little bit better.
He might accidentally call him like Wes or Julian.
Yeah, but it's also reported he wants to aggressively use two tight end sets, and they have two great tight ends,
2 tight end sets
with Waller and Moreau. Like, I think it's a fine hire. He's been able to change offensive systems, so maybe he gets one that fits best with the Raiders. But I just think in that situation, you keep Bisaccia.
Yeah, let's get into our last two, and I think we agree that these are probably the least exciting hires in terms of like Nathaniel Hackett.
Potentially.
Hackett, it's very much. What are they going to do with the quarterback position?
Yeah. Now Hackett has a great relationship with Aaron Rodgers, so maybe they're trying to get him to go to the Broncos. I think Hackett, item 6, you had him.
I had him at
6 as well. So
look at that.
We might have actually ranked him. Yeah. He's around this range anyway. We might have done the math wrong now that I'm thinking about it. But Hackett, I think, like you said, LaFleur was the offensive play caller in Green Bay. I think the success of Hackett will be based on who his quarterback is. Yeah. They have like potentially top 5 weapons in the league.
They have a top 10 roster in the league potentially.
Yeah, and they hired Justin. I don't know how to pronounce this. Witten. I don't know how to pronounce it. As their offensive coordinator, he's the former Green Bay tight ends coach. So you got Alberto, you got Noah Fant.
Bringing all the Green Bay staff members. Maybe he brings over a Green Bay quarterback.
Potentially, and he's also hiring supposedly the Rams DB coach as his new DC, Ejiro Evero.
Okay.
But look, I think kind of like Peterson, I'm a little bit indifferent. Kind of like McDaniels, I'm a little bit indifferent. I think this Broncos hire is going to be dependent on who his quarterback is.
Yeah, and let's wrap it up with our last one. Why didn't they keep David Culley?
Why not just keep David Culley? We both have Lovie Smith as our least inspiring head coaching hire. He was the DC for David Culley. Why not just keep Culley?
Why not? This is typical Houston in my mind. And Lovie Smith didn't even have success in Illinois. They were pretty bad.
He had some decent success with the Bears back in the early 2000s, back in the mid 2000s. And you wonder why they didn't hire Flores. I'm guessing it's because of all this lawsuit and all the allegations. Not allegations. I guess he's putting towards the NFL.
It's just a lot of baggage.
It's a lot of baggage. It's a risk, I think, at this point. But Flores is a great coach, and he deserves to have a job.
Absolutely.
But this Lovie Smith hire is just kind of like,
You're like, okay, this is the sour apple.
David Culley overachieved for that roster significantly, and I don't know why you don't keep him in that place. But moving on from coaches, just real quickly before we wrap up here, Auburn has got some issues in their football program.
Yikes.
It seems like Brian Harsin might be on his way out. There's a lot of reports that he might have had an affair with one of the assistants. Derrick Mason is out. Took a $400K pay cut to go to Oklahoma State to have the same position as a defensive coordinator. His offensive coordinator was out after not even like 50 days. It is not a good look for Auburn football right now.
Yeah, this quote summarizes that from Lee Hunter on Instagram. Coach Harsin is the true mindset for a winner, but is a terrible mindset as a person. That is not the.
That's not what you want to have.
That is not the
as a head coach.
That's not the. It's just really not the endorsement that I would want as a head coach.
He might be taking some pointers from the Urban Meyer head coaching book, pamphlet, instruction manual. But there's a lot of rumors about what is happening. I think he's on vacation right now, so when he comes back, he might clear everything up. But it seems like a lot of boosters and higher-up people within the Auburn football program want him out and want to avoid paying his buyout. So if this happened to be true, this might be cause for them to get rid of him without having to pay his buyout. But it's looking like less and less likely that Harsin's going to have any success at Auburn.
Not very much.
It's a good thing, I guess, that Auburn is a basketball school now. Although they did just lose to Arkansas, so fraud burn in football, basketball, pretty much every sport.
Just happens.
But you know, maybe they go and win March Madness. Who knows?
That'd be great.
But yeah, that's pretty much going to wrap it up for the show. Might have gone a little bit late now. It's late here. We're filming a little bit later than normal. So just going to wrap it up. Any last thoughts, words,
Shout
comments?
out to our producer Zach for
he's
keeping it.
He's had
fighting the good
himself a
fight.
day. Producing a few shows. So shout out to Zach. Shout out to the Washington Commanders, the Washington Commies, as I'm sure they will be known to become known as.
That'll be the next meme. They'll definitely be some Soviet
especially since
memes.
they're in the nation's capital.
There'll
It'll
definitely
a
be
fun
some Cold War-esque memes coming out in the next few years.
The Red Scare, maybe that's what you call their defense. But I don't know.
We should have started the show with just Washington Commander puns.
Yeah.
Next time.
I actually kind of like that name.
I
for
do.
The defense.
I
Red
like
Scare. Can we endorse that?
The
anyway?
Washington Red Scare.
Oh, I would have liked if they were like the Red Hogs. That was
Honestly,
my favorite.
I thought Washington football team went pretty hard.
This is a solid.
It
solid
sounds like
name.
a soccer team.
Yeah, they were going a little
football
European
club.
with it.
Yeah.
A little European style. But yeah, that's about it for this week. Super Bowl is on Sunday. We're pumped for it. We'll be back next week with an entire breakdown of that game and any other news that comes our way. We want to thank you for listening. If you're on Spotify, tuning in, watching it. If you're on YouTube, like, comment, subscribe to Tigervision. Comment anything you want to see next.
Yeah, and check out the other great shows that are produced and run by Tigervision.
Exactly.
They work incredibly hard.
But yeah, that'll do it for this week. Thank you again for tuning in, and we'll see you all next week.